Welcome to the first episode of the Nowadays podcast. My name is Maynor Lopez, and this is my co-host, Grant Moorhead.
I'm Grant Moorhead. You know, we are very excited today to finally get this first episode out to you.
It's been a long time coming.
It really has been. We've been working.
A bit of effort.
We really have. It's been a couple weeks, you know, since we really decided to start to make this podcast. So
and the main reason we wanted to make this podcast is we feel that the American political atmosphere has become not only increasingly contemptuous, but also increasingly violent. And I feel that the root of that contempt and the root of that violence and political rancor is that people are no longer able to disagree respectfully with one another, that people are no longer able to share their opinions and their beliefs without being ostracized from certain communities and certain areas.
Right.
And when our founding fathers made the First Amendment, they made it with the exact principle that everybody was able to and should be able to share their opinions regardless of how many people disagree or agree. I mean, Hamilton wanted an elected monarch, and he almost got crucified for that. And I mean, we think it's a very important aspect of the country is sharing your opinions openly.
Right. You know, people like Wes Moore and what's the Utah governor? What's his name?
Spencer Cox.
Spencer Cox. You know, they started this movement to it's called Disagree Better.
And we really like that.
We love that.
Although me and Grant are conservatives, and I am a first-generation immigrant, and I do believe that conservative principles are what shaped this country into what it is now. I'm a big reader, and a lot of the books that I've read, like Hamilton by John Chernow and The Art of Power by John Meacham, and The Lion, book about Andrew Jack, all these books, the way that they shape American history has always been, to an extent or another, in some capacity, conservatism.
Right.
That is, in our opinion, that's an opinion that I maintain, that conservative values are truly what make this country better. And we want to be able to propagate and perpetuate those values in a respectful manner.
Right.
One of the main reasons that we wanted to start this podcast, and Grant can tell you about this, is he's going to be able to vote next midterm. Noah's going to be able to vote. Noah behind the camera. Say hi, Noah.
Yep.
What's up, guys?
Noah's going to be able to vote, but all of our friends are going to be able to vote either in 26, maybe not all of them in 26, but they're all going to be able to vote in 28. And our goal is to guide their voting pattern in a way that's educated. We don't want them to vote for the same candidates as us, but we do want them to know why they're voting for said candidate.
Mm-hmm. You know, it's really good for you to be educated on the person that you're voting for, regardless of political view. I also believe that voting should be your civic responsibility, that you should vote. What do you think about that?
I think so too. I think, speaking of voting, we don't have a lot of good politicians running nowadays, but no, his dad is running for county commissioner.
Vote for Wayne King.
He's a good man. I've met him once or twice. Really good, sincere guy, really genuine guy, and we can appreciate that. Yep. There's not a lot of genuine people in politics, and I think honestly the prime example right now of someone being disingenuous is Texas Representative Jasmine Crockett, who's launching her bid for Texas Senate, and I think that's incredibly selfish. I think her running for Senate is incredibly selfish to the Democratic movement. And I'm not a Democrat, but if I was, I would be incredibly pissed right now.
You know, as a Republican, I'm honestly very glad that she's running.
I'm glad that she's running because Noah, can you check if she's leading the polls? But last time I checked, she was leading the polls 54-47.
Against the Democratic candidate?
No, against the other primary members. James Tallarico's running, and I know a few other people that have launched their bid as well, but they're not as relevant. The two main front runners right now who are at the forefront are James Tallarico and Jasmine Crockett. And I'll tell you what, Texas, I'm not saying Texas is some, progressive state. It's definitely not. It's conservative. Mm-hmm. But right now, I do think that the Democrats have a very unique opportunity of flipping Texas blue. But they're definitely not going to be able to do it with Jasmine Crockett. James Tallarico, it's an uphill battle with him, but he has a better chance against the incumbent. I forgot his name. He has a better chance against the incumbent than Jasmine Crockett does. So I think it's selfish, you know.
The only thing, you know, Democrats, they really love diversity. You know, diversity is one of their main voting reasons.
Can't stand that personally.
Huh?
Can't stand all that.
You know, I know.
Like the DEI stuff. I really can't get behind any of that, man.
You should. I think that you should be voting for your candidate based off of policies, not based off of their looks or you know, their ethnicity or anything like that.
Right. And I don't know. I don't know about you, Grant, but I think over the past few months. I'm going to go back a little bit. Over the past maybe year or so, we have seen a rise in progressive politics, I feel like. And I think that sprouted with Bernie Sanders. I think he really coined the progressive Democratic movement. You know, I think he's at the forefront of, you know, progressive Democrats. But we also had some copycats along the way. We had Beto O'Rourke. He kind of ran as a progressive. Andrew Yang. But they really didn't get far in terms of progressive politics. But I'll tell you who did get far. Zoran Mamdani, which not really. I mean, he won by 10 points against an incredibly unpopular Andrew
Governor.
Cuomo, whose vote was being split by a somewhat popular Silva. So, I mean, it's really not that impressive. He won by like a 9-point margin against an incredibly unpopular, disgraced governor and a Republican. But he did win. And I feel like that kind of perpetuated this idea that progressive politics are the way to win elections. And it might be in the most liberal city in the United States. And I love New York City. My dad lived there for 7 years. I think it's a great place. But it's not a place that you would necessarily want to raise a family in. The crime is ridiculous in some areas. I mean, yeah, everybody looks at Manhattan and everybody looks at Brooklyn, but nobody looks at, you know,
Staten Island,
you know, all like the crime the crime-ridden areas. Like the reason there's not that much crime in Manhattan is because it's, you know, half of the police force is right there.
Right.
But what happens when it's not being zealously policed? We have an increase in crime that we only see in places like Chicago and stuff like that. And in my opinion, that's where progressive politics gets you. It gets you in an unsafe city where you can't take a walk without the fear of being mugged or shot. And I feel as if you don't really see that in a lot of, you know, staunchly conservative cities. You have Washington, D.C., who's, you know, very liberal, but Donald Trump did send in the National Guard, and crime was down by 36%. Shootings were down by like 40%. It became a really nice place to be. The truth is, that's the solution.
Absolutely.
More policing is the solution, and we need to stop pretending that it's not.
Exactly.
Did you see the comment that Zoran Mamdani made about releasing a decent portion of the police force in order to replace them for service workers?
I did. That's
slightly ridiculous.
That is very ridiculous, I think. I think that if you're wanting to defund the police and you're wanting to, you know, take the police away, I think that you're in for a rude awakening. I think that is idiotic and that should never happen.
Yeah, and the other issue that I have with this stigma around diversity is that it doesn't work. The truth is, I have absolutely no problem with Muslims. I have a decent bit of Muslim friends. One of my longtime friends that I've known for about 5 years is Muslim. But I do have an issue with the religion of Islam as a whole. I think that the religion is inherently violent, and it inherently promotes principles that do not align with values of Western civilization. They're not compatible. The West is Christian. The West has always been Christian. The West will remain Christian as long as there's people like us and you and other conservatives who are willing to defend those Christian principles. And one of my main issues with Zoran Mamdani is he's perpetuating this whole thing. He went on this interview and he was complaining about how his uncle or his grandfather was treated right after 9/11. And that's terrible. I think it's terrible to marginalize a group of people and treat them differently. But I also think that making 9/11 about how your uncle was treated is ridiculous. The truth is, 9/11 was not about how your uncle was treated for practicing a religion. 9/11 was about the 2,000 Americans innocent Americans who lost their lives as a result of Islamist extremists.
That's right.
That's the real issue.
I want to ask you a question. Do you think that 9/11 there was an inside?
No.
Really?
I like Bush. I don't think he was.
No, I didn't. I wasn't saying Bush, but the guy that like owned the trade towers. Do you know how much money he got from that?
3-point-something billion,
yes,
something like that. No,
and the interview with I don't know who,
insurance. Like he got like $3 billion from insurance. But
right.
Now,
he looked very, very like he knew what was going on. In I forgot what interview it was, but he sounded.
I've seen the interview. No,
I think so.
You think 9/11 was an inside job? Really?
From at least that guy? Because
you think so?
Yes.
Are you talking about the clip where he's asked, "Where were you during 9/11?" and he like stutters for like 3 seconds, and he's like, "I was at
home.
I was at home, and my wife had just." And I think he might. I just don't think there's enough proof behind it, but I do think that 9/11 was preventable.
Yeah.
If
me
the
too.
FBI and CIA.
He got $4.5 billion.
Yeah.
In 2007 for property damage.
That's $4.5 billion.
That's crazy.
That's I thought it was like but
from what I heard, can you look this up? He got terrorism insurance like I forgot how.
It was like the month before.
Yeah, look that up. No.
And his son wasn't at work that day, or any of his other family members were at work that day. I don't think so. I don't think we have enough proof to reinforce that. I don't know. I mean, do you not think that Islamist extremists are threat enough to commit a crime like that? I don't think it was.
I mean, I think that they definitely are, but I think that he definitely had something to do with it.
Really?
Yes.
That's very interesting. What's the craziest government conspiracy you believe?
I mean, obviously that I think that Israel killed JFK.
You think I think they had something to do with it.
I
also think it's a little ridiculous just exactly how much involvement the state of Israel, specifically AIPAC, and people like to claim that they're two separate entities, but AIPAC has not gone against Benjamin Netanyahu's word a singular time throughout the entire tenure of it being an organization. And they changed their name in 1948. They changed it to it was originally the Israeli Zionist Alliance or something like that. They changed it to the, AIPAC. I think a lot of people don't understand how dangerous it is to have a foreign entity meddling in our affairs, because not only does it affect our foreign policy interests, but it affects every aspect. The truth is that our politicians, a lot of them are being paid, and I'm not talking about respectable congressmen who have taken $10,000 from AIPAC. I genuinely don't think that's an issue, but I am talking about people who have taken hundreds of thousands of dollars from this organization, who have taken millions of dollars. Like we have Chuck Schumer, who has taken almost $1 million from AIPAC, or Hakeem Jeffries, who has taken, or Cory Booker, who has taken hundreds of thousands of dollars from AIPAC. That's dangerous. I'm not talking about your small town congressman taking, $1,000, because most of the time they really might not even understand where that money's come from. But Cory Booker receiving $500,000 from AIPAC, you're telling me he doesn't know where $500,000's coming from? Or Chuck Schumer receiving $1 million, you're telling me he doesn't know where that $1 million is coming from? No, he definitely does. And that's influencing their voting record. And it's a little ridiculous. There's foreign interventionism in our country is more of a threat than people understand. We sent $300 billion to Ukraine over the past 5 or so years.
Right.
We have sent only since 2023, I think we have sent $36 billion to Israel. Since 1948, we have sent almost 300. Since 1948, I think we have sent almost $300 billion to Israel. And that's, probably not counting a lot of the money that we've given them in military aid. But I know since 2023, it's been $38 billion or something like that. And if you count military aid and, assistance aid and all that stuff. And I'm not an isolationist, Grant. I do believe that we should be somewhat involved in the affairs. Because we are, at the end of the day, we are the most powerful country on earth. And we have to keep our influence abroad.
Absolutely.
But I think this whole idea. Oh, go ahead. No.
They spent $17.9 billion on military aid to Israel starting October of 2023.
So since 2023, they have spent almost $20 billion, $17 billion. That's slightly ridiculous to me that we're, especially because we don't. Here's one of my biggest issues. When people justify the aid to Israel, they're always like, well, they're giving us foreign intelligence. They're giving us intelligence from the Middle East. They're helping us with this. They're helping us with that. Where was that intelligence during 9/11? Where was that intelligence throughout every single major Muslim attack to the United States? It just wasn't there. We're not gaining anything out of supporting Israel. They're meddling in our affairs. They're spending millions of dollars on our federal politicians, and in return, they're getting billions back.
That's right.
And I'm not only upset about Israel, I'm upset about $300 billion to Ukraine also. That's ridiculous. That money can be spent in the military. That money can be spent on the Department of Energy. That money can be spent reallocating education funds to specific states. I'm not, like I said, I'm not an isolationist, but I'm also not a big interventionist. I'm done with the Cheney style of politics where we're in every single country at all times.
Right.
We don't benefit from that. What do you think?
Well, first of all, I think that even our local congressman, who I really like,
we greatly respect,
respect,
and he's really in tune with his constituency. One thing about Tim Moore is we really feel like he has a real grasp with the average person in his constituency, and we've met him once or twice.
Yep.
Incredibly amicable, incredibly respectable guy. We like him a lot.
Yeah. But he's taken, I think, $12,000 from AIPAC. Yeah. Which I'm not, obviously, it's not as much as, people like Ted Cruz or who's another big one?
Chuck Schumer, Booker, Hakeem Jeffries, all of them.
Right. But, it's kind of getting to a point where 96% of all congressmen are taking money from AIPAC. It kind of feels like they have a lot of influence, in our government, which,
It does.
I'm not really sure how I think about that.
How do you feel about this? I'm getting real tired of the rhetoric that's being pushed that if we don't intervene in other countries' affairs, that we're going to lose our grasp. That the United States is out of our prime because we're not intervening in foreign countries' affairs. I'm not behind that. The United States is the most powerful country on earth because of Americans. Not because we're sending $30 billion to Israel, not because we're sending $300 billion to Ukraine, not because we're sending literally 70% of all NATO funding, which comes from us, not because of any of that, but because of Americans. Not because of the tech oligarchs, not because of the corrupt institutional Democrats, but because of the average working class Americans, the average working class students, the average working class college graduates. That's why America's America.
Right.
And I'm getting real tired of the rhetoric that we have to that we keep getting perpetuated, specifically by the left, that it's our duty to help every single country around the globe. It's not. It's our duty to preserve conservative values. Let's worry about the Muslim influx or the Islamic influx of influence upon our politics. Let's worry about that. Let's worry about the fact that in 10 years, people like Maynor and Grant won't be able to afford a home.
Right.
But we're not worried about that. We're worried about what's going on in Palestine. We're worried about what's going on in Ukraine. We're worried about what's going on in every country but ours. And one thing that I really do respect about Donald Trump is when he got into office, he ended 7 conflicts in a matter of months.
Yep.
And if Donald Trump can do it, then the Democrats could have done it also. And they either were incompetent and could not, or chose not to for the sake of spending taxpayer money on all of these countries.
Right.
And, sorry, go ahead. What were you going to say?
I was just going to go to our next topic, but are you wrapped up with that one?
We can wrap it up.
All right. Well, our next topic, the Oklahoma girl that wrote the fantastic essay, on.
Yeah, no, that was a terrible essay.
It was a terrible essay. No, it was
I
a
read
terrible
that.
essay.
It was genuinely, I think, the worst piece of just text I've read in my life.
Me too.
And I think that really shows political polarization. I mean, I agreed with what the girl was saying in the essay.
Right, me too.
But you could definitely format that academically. There's different ways to format that. It was terrible.
Yeah, and it's the fact that I don't think that although I do agree with probably everything that she was saying in the essay, I don't think that the teacher or the professor should have got fired for that, just because it was a really bad essay.
But I do have a problem with the class itself. I think the class was transgender studies or something similar. The teacher was herself transgender. I can't get behind that.
No.
I don't know how over the last 10 or so years we have been constantly perpetuated with the idea that we need to normalize stuff like the transgender agenda. The truth is, it's and this is not in any hateful way towards anyone, because as Christians, I'm a Roman Catholic, but we are called upon to love everybody. But I do want to point out one thing. Tolerance is not a Christian virtue. Acceptance is not a Christian virtue. Christians, Roman Catholics, Orthodox, Protestants, whatever, honestly, it's ridiculous that we are sitting idle by as this propaganda is being perpetuated upon our youth, upon our children's children, upon everybody. I mean, me and Grant don't have children, but we know that it's being perpetuated so much that in 20 years, when we do have children, it's going to be normalized.
Right.
And it shouldn't. A Christian, tolerance is not something you have to adhere to. You shouldn't be tolerant to a transgenderist agenda being propagated upon your family, upon your little cousin, upon your little brother, upon your son. That's not something you should sit idle by. As Christians, we should not be okay with sin. We should not be tolerant of sin. We should not be accepting of sin.
No, and in the Bible it says to call out sin, but only if you are not in sin. So I think that as a Christian, you should definitely call out sin. That's something that you need to hold people accountable.
No, I completely agree with you. But I think the fact that classes like this are being promoted at a collegiate level.
That is crazy. And at Oklahoma.
I would not expect that at all. But not only Oklahoma, in my opinion, and I don't know how the government would possibly involve itself in this, because I'm mostly for the government staying out of education. But I think there should be some restrictions so that partisan stuff like this is not being promoted in an academic setting. What possible reason would a collegiate institution have to be promoting stuff like transgenderism? It's inherently, the truth is, transgenderism and all of this stuff, it's inherently political and it's inherently partisan. And unless they're allowed to have, which they do, they have classes like Christian theology and stuff like that. So I guess it makes it fair. But it's just a little ridiculous to me that that's the types of majors and stuff that we're focusing on at that level of, and I mean, it's not like Oklahoma is a prestigious university or anything, but that any university is putting so much focus into that is a little ridiculous.
I totally agree. All right, so yes. Oh, okay. All right. So let's just go ahead and try and wrap it up a little bit. Let's give our reasons for making this podcast.
We talked about this a little bit towards the beginning, but we're just gonna, as we wrap up, we're gonna give a few reasons, and we're gonna talk about what we're gonna be expecting moving forward. I think the main reason that we decided to make this podcast is because we really wanted to promote conservative values in a way that's digestible to people our age. Why conservative values are important is something that a lot of people might not understand.
Right.
And why leftist values could sometimes be dangerous is something that a lot of people our age also might not understand. And with the looming election over our heads, which is going to be an incredibly monumental one, we think it's very important that people our age and people of any age stay informed on the importance of how politics affects them, but also in what way you should defend your principles, your values, and all of that stuff.
Right.
And me and Grant are one of our close friends, or well, maybe not Grant's, but a friend that I have that I've known for quite a long time is a Democratic Socialist, and we're bringing her on next episode.
It's going to be very interesting. You're going to have to tune in.
Right.
Probably going to be,
it's going to be a good one.
It's going to be a heavy hitter debate. Straight on.
All right, we're going to have a formal debate. It's going to be proctored. It's going to be well organized, and we're going to digest our opinions. She's going to get ample time to share her reasoning on why she holds the views that she does, and I will also get ample time to ask her questions on those opinions and tackle those opinions with my own personal principles and values.
Yep, it's going to be very interesting. You'll have to tune in. Well, we really appreciate you for tuning in today, and we're really glad and that you're here, and we're looking forward to next week.
See you next week. That was fun. What did you think, Noah? Honest opinion.